Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Mastermind Monday. I am Sarah Dant. It looks like I haven't seen a couple of you, so this is great. Some of you might be new, just joining us to RGX on these calls. So welcome. We're so excited to have you here today. This is a super passionate conversation I like to have. So I want to get started because I can just ramble for hours on this. So hopefully we'll have some time at the end. I'd love to get some questions from you guys, or maybe just I'm going to kind of call out some of you guys, and maybe you can contribute on some ideas that you're already doing relating to this topic that we're going to discuss today, and go from there. So just real quick, for those of you who don't know me, Sarah Dant. I teach golf down in Naples, Florida. I've been with RGX, I think 6 years now. I'm one of the mentors, and currently working on a program that sort of takes this, what we're going to talk about today, and expand it out into a deeper class. So if you guys have any questions, I'd love to discuss today and go over some of those topics. So what I thought we'd discuss is, let's talk about 3 conversations that it's really important you're having with your students when you're working on trying to get results, or just some of you might be trying to transition from teaching to coaching and not quite sure where to start. So I feel like these are really good points just to keep in mind as you're starting to do more. Maybe it's more group coaching, maybe it's more coaching, maybe it's more on course, whatever it is that you're currently at and working on. So here we go. Terrible at slide presentations, so bear with me. Okay, so as a coach, do you discuss goals and improvement plans with each student? Is this, let's see, I'm gonna get this out of the way here so you guys can see my slides. Good?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if this is in the way. That's what I was. All right, so a couple questions to ask just real quick. As a coach, do you discuss goals and improvement plans with every student that you run into, even if it's a student? Some of you might just be currently, still taking one-on-one lessons, or just trying to build your lesson base of people. So this might be something that doesn't constantly get discussed with your students, but I would strongly encourage you after today to start at least having a tiny conversation with every lesson you have, even if it's, it might be somebody just trying to take one lesson. This is a good way to introduce them into what you're planning on doing or currently trying to get to. And then do you help them set realistic expectations on performance? And we'll dive into this a little bit deeper. And then do you discuss motor learning and the process of skill acquisition? So if you're not familiar with this topic yet, this is where I get super geeky and love it. So I'd be happy to help you in any way I can. And hopefully today I can give you a few pointers that you can discuss with your students. Okay, so let's just dive in. And if anyone wants to, this is a nice small group, this is great. So if you need to speak up and want to ask a question or contribute or whatever, please go ahead and do that. I think we'll have plenty of time. So, all right, topic number 1, helping your players create their journey. So I like to word it this way because I think as coaches, what we want to try to do is make sure that every student that's coming to us, that we look at it as someone who we're going to help take on a long term journey. I always try to think about it when I'm taking on new students, or if even just somebody is, coming for, I just want a quick lesson. Well, I know that's not going to work, but I definitely know that I can convince somebody to buy into one of my programs. So I like to just always consider this and have these conversations with them, even if it's just kind of like, oh, I just want to take a couple lessons. So a couple questions to ask your students is, what kind of golf do you currently play? And I've kind of reworded and worded questions multiple different ways. And I find that this is the best way to ask them is, how do you currently play golf? I tend to deal with I'm with a lot of adults, a lot of higher handicappers, a lot of country club level golf, people that have been playing for years and have not gotten any better. So asking them just like, where are you? Are you a bogey golfer, double bogey? Do you want to break 90? Do you want to break 100? And keep it sort of broad. It's not like that big a deal to know exact. And then what would you like to be playing? So a lot of times people are asking, I just want to be more consistent. I just want to hit the ball better. I don't want to embarrass myself, really kind of listen and ask these good, deep questions to find out what they're looking for, because their answers you can turn into, well, let me tell you what I can do for you. And so it's real important to kind of be asking these questions about their journey. Where do you see them in 2 years? Maybe where do you see them in a year? How can you help them what can you provide for them? And that you can kind of incorporate into your sales pitch with them. Maybe not even the first day you see them, maybe it could be something down the road, but kind of take the time to really get to know the person that's standing in front of you and what they're looking for. And then without having to really ask, sometimes you just need to kind of ask a few like basic questions, like how much time are you willing to commit to this? What kind of money do you think they're willing to commit? A lot of times I deal with a lot of ladies, so I know women don't like to spend money on themselves. So I try to provide programs that I know will accommodate that, but you can usually get a pretty good feel if you're asking the right questions to people. So again, just kind of a recap on this. I know we dive into this in the other courses in RGX, trying to find your why, trying to really ask the right questions to your students. So this is a pretty broad topic when it comes to assessments, but I like to just kind of keep it simple in a sense of what are you? What do you currently play? Where are you from? Some basic questions to get to know them so that you know how to tailor your instruction, even if it's just for a couple sessions. It can really help them like sort of get to know you, learn about you, trust you, and then hopefully buy into something bigger that you have to offer them down the road. Okay, topic number 2. This one I love, managing expectations based on their goals. So one of the things that I know for years and years and years I didn't understand and I didn't do was help my players manage their expectations. And the more I dive into this, the more questions I ask my students, I realize they are so whacked out when it comes to what they're supposed to do in golf, what shots they should be hitting, what should their performance look like. And in the last couple of years, I've really getting a little obsessive with this to where my students are sort of like, Sarah would be happy if we did that shot, so they're really getting to understand and know like what should their expectations be. So a couple of topics just to cover here is, what are your manageable goals? So for instance, if one of my first sessions with a player that I know is going to be sort of like at least long-term in a sense of they're going to spend the season with me, they're going to spend probably the next year with me, they're going to do some sort of program. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's twice a month, it doesn't really matter, but I just want to make sure that they understand their manageable goals. So let's just take, for instance, I want to break 100, which is a very common goal for a lot of golfers. So one of the things that I say right to them right away is, let's break it down into simple goals. Okay. So if you just want to shoot, let's say a 97, 98, most golfers, if you give them an exact number, they get super excited, as we know. Whereas as coaches, we know that it's not an exact number, but let's just say that we're trying to get them to have a skill set that can break 100. Explaining to them that you only need to make 9 bogeys and 9 double bogeys to do that, correct? That just like blows them away. So the next time you go out with one of your players and just kind of take it and break it down for them and say, all right, let's do the math on how to shoot 99. Because most of them that say I want to break 100, they'd be happy any number in the 9s, basically. So helping them realize that, all right, let's discover and say, if you only need to make 9 bogeys and 9 double bogeys, what holes do you hate that you can make double bogeys on? Or which holes do you can start turning into bogeys? And let's focus on that. Or in a sense of manageable goals would be, do you think that you can have, I'll take them out on the court when I'm on the course or just on the short range area. If I can say to them, do you think you can hit 3 shots from this 40-yard shot that we're hitting right now? Because that's all you have to do. You have to hit 1 short game shot and 2 putts to be able to get a bogey. Do you think you can do that? Most people literally can they can break it down enough to say, I can accomplish that. But when they're out playing golf, they don't think of it that way. They think that they're supposed to make it in the hole. They think they're supposed to get it super close. They add all sorts of tension and pressure to their game because they think they're supposed to do it a different way. So manageable goals is really super important for you to help them understand, what is it going to take realistically for them to shoot the scores that they want to shoot? Or I just want to not embarrass myself when I play golf. Okay, let's keep it super simple then. Let's learn how to hit 5 clubs in your bag, and you can easily shoot 100 doing that, right? So again, we're all kind of coaching hopefully at this point, or we're trying to transition to coaching and learning more about that. So I don't want to go down a road that I'll just keep tangent on. Okay, decision-making skills. For those of you that are getting to do on-course coaching, this is a great area to focus on when you're actually on the golf course, if you don't get to go on course coaching, maybe a few of these points can actually help when you're out on the range with people. So decision-making skills in a sense of, I know for me, a lot of my players, when they're trying to hit a green, so let's say they're 150 yards away from the green, and we have a fairly difficult, it's a golf course that there's a lot of bunkers, and they're not going to hit the green from 150 yards away. Again, looking at my players and what they're looking at, and whatever players you have and whatever skill level they are, you need to decide how you're going to help them with this. So for me, I always teach the layup shot for my students. I think it's really important that higher handicap golfers stay out of bunkers, because it's where they add up the most amount of shots. So I teach them decision-making skills as far as, how are you going to lay up? Do you know how to calculate the distance? Do you know how to hit a specific shot? So, for most of my players, it's a 100-yard shot to a 120-yard shot will keep them out of trouble. Okay. So we really work on that, and we work on the decision-making skills when we're out on the golf course. Of course, everyone fights me on it and wants to fight me on it. So I'll just say to them, if I give you 10 balls right now, and I have you hit the shot that you want to hit 150 yards into a green surrounded by 2 bunkers, how many times out of 10 would the ball go on the green? Of course, the number is always like, well, maybe 1, 2. And I'm like, well, does that seem like the smartest decision you should be making out here? No. So I always think of it as like an 80-20 rule. You can even go 70-30. If they don't tell you that 80% of the time they can hit the green, then help them understand how important it is to not go for that shot. Again, as a coach, you almost have to let them tell you that, as opposed to just tell them that, because they don't like to be told what to do, obviously. So just a real quick topic on that. We can go into that just a little bit deeper here in a second. And the third part of this, managing expectations, is controlling the shoulding yourself. I love this. I should have hit that. I should have done this. I should have done that. I get so tired of hearing the should haves that I'm like, no, you shouldn't even be going for those shots. You shouldn't even be trying to hit those shots. It's just not your skill level right now. If you want to work on that, you can. But at the moment right now, we're trying to shoot lower scores. We're on the golf course. We're working on our program, whatever it might be, but we have to get rid of these controlling the shitting yourselves. So I just want to stop right there real quick. Anybody want to chime in and ask any questions or add any comments to that as far as currently what you're doing? Otherwise, I'll just pick on somebody here in a second. Okay, good. All right, let's go to the next topic, and then we'll regroup here. Okay. So topic number 3, motor skill training, which I absolutely am obsessed with and love. So first of all, the steps to mastery, if anybody hasn't really dived into this topic of motor skill development, it's really important you do. And we're actually trying to create a course for RGX that we can do this to have some more training for you to understand the steps to mastery. So basically, it's really important that your students know and understand these steps, meaning they have to have clear concepts, which is where most instruction comes into play. They have to have supervised practice. They have to have training, transfer training techniques, which I'm going to dive into in a second here. And they have to be able to go and play with you or some sort of coach or something, whether it's the scoring you're using the scoring method or whatever. But you have to be able to play and transfer those skills to the golf course. So the conversations that you want to be having with the player is they need to understand this, and they need to know that if you're going to actually learn a skill, a motor skill, and I explain this to my students all the time, motor skill is different than a cognitive skill like math. Okay. So a good example to explain to your students is when you're trying to learn math, you can memorize formulas and you can memorize whatever you need to for the test, and you can do it the next day and be successful. The problem with motor skill development is it takes hours of repetition, and hours of repetition have to be done in a certain environment. They have to be done in a learning environment. So we get the comment all the time of, I'm doing it fine here. I do it great in my lessons, or I do it when you're around, but then I can't do it on the golf course. So you need to be able to explain to them that as the professional and the coach, that you need to be able to teach us to them that it's just because you haven't spent enough hours doing it yet. We have to continue this process. That's why my program is so important. That's why long-term development is so important, is that we're seeing each other on a consistent basis, and I'm helping you work through these steps to mastery. And that's why individual lessons don't work. That's why I don't like to do them. So these conversations that you're having with your players are now going to start promoting you as like, okay, as opposed to 2 lessons, this person just bought a program of 10 with you, or maybe they joined one of your group classes if that's what you're into. But that's important that you explain to them how mastery works and how important it is to go through those different levels of training. I'm going to show you on the next slide. There's a little picture you can use. Training sessions. So as the coach in having a program and being with your students, it's really important that you set up training sessions for them, whether it's on the golf course or it's usually it's better just on a practice facility of some kind, whether it's a short game or putting or your full swing. But training sessions are really important. And this is a good area to do them in groups. I do a lot of, I call them boot camp classes, where people can sign up and we do short game. We cover the 3 different areas of the short game. Every single session, they're doing the same thing. I set up little drills for them to work on. So they have score that they can keep. For instance, if they hit 10 shots from 30 yards, how many of the shots made it into the area that I marked off. So let's say I said, okay, it has to get within 15 feet of the hole. So I'll put little cones out. They can hit the shots. That way they know, and they have some like success rate to say, oh, okay. Again, managing expectations. Now they have training sessions that they can be actually feeling like they're gaining confidence in and creating some sort of consistency. And it's important that you have the conversation with your students too, that training sessions are key. If I don't see you in a practice environment, I'm not going to be able to help you as much as you need me to. And most people, when we go back to the top where it says, how much time are you willing to commit? They don't really understand how much time it takes to improve. And that's why it's important that you have these conversations with them on improvement. So, and just one more kind of point here on motor skill training. On course performance, if you're not able to take them on the golf course, that's fine. But continue to have the conversations with them about transfer. You have these skills, they're working fine out here. Why aren't they working on the golf course? And a lot of times it's because people have like mental skills issues that they need to train. They can't really self-manage their emotions or their thoughts very well. Or they just, again, they don't have very good decision-making skills. So that's where you come in and you can help them say, okay, let's discuss decision-making. Are you making good decisions on the course? Are you using the right club selections? Are you playing risky golf? Are you playing conservative golf? And then you can kind of be talking to them about what it takes for them to actually be able to transfer their skills to the golf course. All right, I'm going to take just a quick little break. Let's see, does anybody have any questions? Okay, Bo, you want to chime in? Any points you want to add?
No, I think that you're crushing this, Sarah, first of all.
Sorry, I'm going so fast.
I have a few clients emailing me and stuff today, but no, I think that motor skill learning is so important, and it's something I've been diving into recently. And I think hearing you talk about it, and it's something that we don't talk a lot about in the golf world, right? We talk a lot about coaching and asking a lot of questions and doing all of this stuff on the course, but how do you actually develop those skills and get people a result quicker, right? And I think it's so important. And there's some really great books out there. I don't know if people have read, The Talent Code is one of them that if you're paying attention to it, breaks down some skill development that is very, very good. But other than that, I don't have any questions. I just think you're crushing it. So just
keep rocking it. Just keep rambling.
Yeah.
I actually did. I think just to remind everyone of that again. Yes, no one talks about motor skill development, and none of us are trained on it in the PGA, or if you're not in PGA, whatever. And it just blows my mind that I spent 23 years now teaching golf, and I didn't actually even understand the word. I had no idea what it was until about 6-7 years ago. And we're literally teaching a motor skill. So for those of you that are already doing it, props to you. That's amazing. For those of you that are needing to learn more about it, it's really important, which is why we're trying to create some sort of program at RGX for you guys, because you need to understand. And if you need just enough information to kind of teach your students about it, I find that that's where I'm super successful now with my clients, is that I can speak to them on this level and I can tell them, like, this is why you're frustrated. This is why you're struggling. You literally spent a half hour with me last week Or let's just say you did a practice session with me and that's it. That's all you did. And then I'll say to them, so for me, I have a lot of tennis and pickleball players, or bridge. And I'm like, all right, tell me how many hours you spent in tennis last week. Well, of course, they play 3-4 matches a week. They're doing practice sessions. I'm like, literally, you're training yourself in tennis, and then you're coming over here to golf, and you're trying a completely different motor skill with absolutely no practice and no commitment to it outside the golf course. So by being able to at least explain to them what a motor skill is and why it's so important that they invest the time into training sessions, they meet with me once a week, that they're trying to practice on their own once a week, it makes them realize that, oh, got it, I'll buy into more of what you're offering because I know that you understand this and that you know how important it is. So it's a huge, huge topic that we just don't have enough time for in one day, but definitely start introducing yourself to that. Anybody else want to jump in quick? I don't see names on here, so I'm just going to call on the guy in the green shirt. Top right. I don't know why my screen doesn't have any names on it. So
is it a blue shirt?
Yeah, Scott. Okay, now it's popping up when you're talking.
Yes. Hey,
any comments or
yeah, I wanted to
additions?
say that, within the past year, of course, I've been a PJ member since '91. I've come to the conclusion that golf is just as a bunch of different skill sets all put together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm actually enrolled in a class right now on how humans learn.
Nice.
And so, of course, anyway, so that's helpful to understand the whole training and learning process, and then just take them along from one skill to the next. And I found a lot of success in starting with the easiest skill,
Yep.
which is putting, and then going to chipping, and then pitching and backwards. And so it makes sense to start. And that's also the most important part of golf, as you get closer to the hole. So that's what I focus on.
Awesome. I love it. Breaking it down into skills, so important. And again, today's topic is just having these conversations with your students. I can't tell you, if you have this knowledge and you have this understanding just on a tiny little level, how smart you sound and how, oh my gosh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, oh, got it. What are you selling? I'm buying. Okay. So, and if you understand how to do this, and like Scott was just saying, break it down into little skills. And if you provide a practice session for them that's an hour and a half, you cover 3 skills, they're going to feel so confident when they leave. They're going to totally buy into what you're doing and they're going to love it, even if it's a first-time student, and just helping them with those basic things that they can sort of just accomplish to start. Okay, sorry, I hate this little half hour. I'm just going to run through this real quick. This is some transfer training things that you can use as examples to your students, because we all hear the same comments all the time. I do it great here, I don't do it on the course, or I choke under pressure or whatnot. If any of you have not, do not know about Dr. Rick Jensen yet, I strongly suggest you email him directly and get one of his books. Tell him that you did an RGX class with me. They'll send one out to you. Don't buy it on Amazon. Go straight to his website, and his wife Ro will send you one. They're like $20 only. But Dr. Rick Jensen had a program that he was doing a few years ago that's unbelievable. So I've taken all this content, he's given me permission. So this is a good picture that you can use, or just even show your students, or just talk about it with them, that this is the steps to mastery, that it's really important that in order to achieve the skill transfer, or the skill training that you're looking for, you have to go through these steps. So understanding your cause and effect, that's where you come in as a really good coach, and you simplify it down. You make the skill seem super easy for them, make it super clear in their head what they're trying to accomplish, and then provide them a supervised practice area or a session that they can attend. So like my boot camps are supervised practice. I feel like most of the lessons I do on Full Swing, same thing. And then transfer training is the big thing that all of us kind of miss, or don't get to do, because people don't stay with us long enough, or they don't stay in a program long enough. So it's important you include these. So transfer training is basically you train them like they play golf. So, let's say you give them, like in the scoring method we do, where you put tees around the hole, 3 feet from the hole, how many that they make out of 5, make it super realistic. You've got your 5 tees, and then, okay, I can get 5 out of 5. Great. Let's move back a half of a step. Okay. Now you can get 5 out of 5. So anything that you're doing that can make it transfer to the golf course is how you're thinking about it. And there's just so many games and drills and everything that you guys are all probably aware of and do. Just make sure that you include them, even if someone's just coming for one lesson. You can always do the last 10 minutes of your session, and you could say, all right, let's just do a little transfer training technique. Let's see how you do when I give you 5 balls from this area. How many of them did we get inside of 3 feet? Whatever it is, just come up with something that, so now starts to make them realize, oh, wow, okay, I have to do this in order to transfer my skills to the golf course. And then if you can play with your students, it's absolutely amazing, because you can help them with their decision-making. I'm going to just ramble real quick. This is the best example I have for, this is again from Rick. It's a picture of a bear. So I love to tell this story when people tell me they choked. Okay. So anybody that's learning a new skill, or they're trying to improve the current skills that they're working on. So anything's new to their brain. Okay. Picture yourself, you're running your whole life, you run forward. All of a sudden your coach says, we're going to start learning how to run backwards, and we're going to do a race in 6 months, or whatever runners call it. So you're practicing running backwards for 6 months. You're doing amazing. You've got the skill down. You're doing awesome. One day you go running out in the woods. You're practicing. You're running backwards, and you see this guy. Which way are you running? After 6 months, we're all running forward, aren't we? There's absolutely no way that when pressure is applied to you, or fear or anxiety, or even if it's just playing with the ladies group on Tuesday mornings, this little guy comes out and he scares the crap out of you, and you go right back to your old skills. If you explain that to them, that's why their skills aren't transferring to the golf course yet, is because this little bear keeps running out and scaring you. Every time you add pressure, every time you add anxiety, every time you add any sort of tension to your game, you'll go back to your old skills until the new skill has been completely trained. So it might take you 8 months. It may take you a year. Stick with it. The key is that you need to stick with it, and you need to do it over and over and over and over. When I tell them this, most people are like, wow, didn't even think of it that way. I got it. And it makes so much sense. Okay. That's how I get people to also stick with me for hopefully 10 years. And then this one's obviously a huge one. I don't understand why golfers think that they shoot an 83 one day, that they normally shoot 86, they shoot an 83, that all of a sudden now I'm going to be shooting 80s for the rest of the year, when the next day they shoot a 94. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually completely normal. A range of 10 scores is completely normal. So have these conversations with your players, because they don't know, and they have no idea that this is what's stopping them from getting better. And if you don't have these conversations, they're going to blame it on you. They're going to think that you're not good. You don't know what you're talking about. I didn't improve working with this person. No, it's because they didn't understand any of this, and that they didn't stick with you long enough to see it through. Okay. So to me, these 3 things are like constant. I'm coaching my players on all the time, and they completely buy into all the stuff I throw at them. All right, just real quick. I'm sorry, we're out of time, of course. I know if some of you have to just jump off. Thanks for getting on. So just ideas on how to communicate your message. Have a blog for your students, even if it's just 2 paragraphs. Send it out to all your clients that you have an email list to, like, hey guys, I just wanted to tell you about this story about this bear running through the woods, They'll love something just simple and easy. Constant reminders while you're coaching. Anytime I hear anybody say, oh, I should have hit that better. No, you shouldn't have. You're a country club level golfer who plays amateur level golf, who doesn't ever practice. I mean, my players will laugh all the time, because I'm like, how many hours did you practice last week? You're right. I shouldn't be able to hit that shot. I'll try a different one that's safer. On-course coaching sessions that you can do to help with decision-making skills. And I just threw this in here. Sarah says, I've basically brainwashed majority of my players that Sarah says, we have to do it. And Sarah would be so mad if she was here watching us hit the shot. So try to create a message that's super consistent, that your players are actually teaching the other players. So I get this a lot, where I taught my best friend up north your theory about how to lay up, and now she dropped 10 shots off of her score. So you want to create this like thing that people are buying into, and it's your message, and be super clear on it, be super consistent with it, because that's what they need to hear as your coach. All right, awesome, you guys. Sorry, this little half hour just flies right by. again, I know some of you have been on the calls before, but if you're not in RGX already and you're interested in finding out how we can all help you, whether it's group coaching, whether it's skills training, whether it's trying to fill your lesson book, we have a ton of great coaches and lots of good people in this program. So we'd love to help in any way we can. And I'm good. If anyone wants to ask any questions real quick or just throw in a comment, please do. Nobody wants to speak up? Okay, you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. I hope that helps you this week.